Tokyo, Japan, 1946. The Second World War had just ended. Much of the country lay in ruins. Entire neighborhoods had been reduced to rubble. Factories were destroyed. The economy had collapsed for millions of Japanese citizens. Simply surviving each day was a challenge. But inside a small bomb-damaged department store in Tokyo, a group of determined engineers refused to believe Japan's future had already been written. With little money, almost no equipment, and a dream that seemed impossible, they started a tiny electronics company. No one, not even they, could have imagined what it would become. Within a few decades, that small workshop would grow into one of the most recognizable technology brands on Earth. It would create products that changed how the world listened to music, played video games, watched movies, and experienced technology. The company's name was Sony. To millions of people, Sony became a symbol of innovation, a company trusted for its quality, its creativity, and its ability to shape the future. But behind that polished reputation lies a very different story. A story filled with controversial decisions, secret software installed on millions of computers, corporate failures, billion-dollar mistakes, and a cyber attack so devastating it became an international political crisis. How did one of the world's most respected technology companies become the center of so many scandals? And how did it survive them all without collapsing? Tonight, we're uncovering the stories Sony would probably rather you forgot. This is the dark history of Sony. The company wasn't always called Sony. When it was founded in 1946, its original name was Tokyo Tsushin Kogyo, which translates to Tokyo Telecommunications Engineering Corporation. It wasn't exactly a name that international customers could easily remember. So in 1958, the founders made a bold decision. They changed the company's name to Sony, a short, simple name inspired by the Latin word sonus, meaning sound, combined with the American slang word sunny, often used to describe a bright young person. The new name was modern, easy to pronounce, and perfect for a company with global ambitions. That decision proved to be one of the smartest branding moves in business history. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Sony earned a reputation for doing what many believed was impossible. In 1955, it introduced Japan's first commercially successful transistor radio. For the first time, people could carry music and news wherever they went. Then came the Trinitron television, a breakthrough that delivered brighter colors and sharper images than many competing TVs. The innovation earned Sony international recognition and helped establish it as one of the world's leading electronics companies. But perhaps no product changed everyday life more than the Walkman. Released in 1979, the small portable cassette player transformed the way people listened to music. Instead of sharing music through speakers, people could now carry their favorite songs in their pockets and listen privately through headphones. It wasn't just a successful product, it created an entirely new way of experiencing music. Years later, Sony would once again change the entertainment industry, this time with a video game console. When the original PlayStation launched in 1994, few expected it to become one of the best-selling gaming platforms in history. It didn't just compete with existing consoles, it redefined gaming itself. By the early 2000s, Sony had become more than an electronics company. It owned a major movie studio, a global music business, television networks, gaming platforms, and some of the world's most recognizable consumer technology brands. To millions of people, Sony represented innovation, reliability, and quality. But behind that remarkable success, executives were facing a growing problem: digital piracy. As CDs became easier to copy, Sony feared that illegal music sharing would threaten its recording business. Determined to stop piracy, the company approved a solution that seemed clever on paper. Instead, it became one of the biggest public relations disasters in technology history. In 2005, Sony secretly installed software onto millions of customers' computers, and everything changed. November 2005. A security researcher named Mark Russinovich was testing a music CD on his Windows computer. The CD had been released by Sony BMG, one of the biggest music companies in the world. At first, everything seemed normal. The music played, the computer worked. Nothing appeared unusual. But Russinovich noticed something strange. His computer contained files that were deliberately hidden from the user. He investigated further, and what he discovered was disturbing. Sony BMG had been putting special software on some of its music CDs. The software was designed to restrict how customers could copy the music. But there was a problem. It didn't simply protect the music. It concealed itself. The software used techniques associated with a rootkit, a type of technology capable of hiding files and processes from the operating system. And ordinary customers weren't clearly told what was happening. You could buy a Sony CD, take it home, put it into your computer, and software could be installed without you fully understanding what had just happened. Then came an even bigger problem. The software didn't just create a privacy controversy, it created a security vulnerability. Malicious programs could potentially exploit the hidden components. In other words, Sony had introduced a system designed to protect its music. That could actually make customers' computers less secure. And now, the story was spreading across the internet. Security experts were furious. Technology journalists began investigating. Consumers started demanding answers. Sony initially defended the technology, but the backlash became impossible to contain. The company eventually announced that it would stop distributing CDs containing the controversial software and offered measures to address affected computers. But the damage was already done. Lawsuits followed. Government authorities became involved, and Sony's reputation took a serious hit. The company had spent decades convincing customers that Sony products represented quality and trust. Now, one of its own security decisions had made customers question whether they could trust Sony at all. But there was something even more embarrassing about the entire episode. Sony had been trying to stop people from illegally copying music, yet the software it used to fight piracy became associated with the very thing technology companies feared most: malware. And this scandal revealed something that would become a recurring theme in Sony's history. The company could create extraordinary technology, but sometimes its attempts to control that technology came with consequences nobody expected, and Sony wasn't finished. Because 6 years later, the company would face a problem far bigger than a controversial music CD. This time, it would be the personal information of tens of millions of PlayStation users. And the attack would leave one of the world's biggest gaming networks completely offline. April 2011. The PlayStation network suddenly went down. At first, gamers assumed it was routine maintenance. But days passed, then more days. Sony finally revealed the truth. Its network had been breached. Hackers had broken into Sony's systems and accessed massive amounts of user information: names, email addresses, birth dates, login details, and potentially other personal information. Approximately 77 million PlayStation Network accounts were affected. It was one of the largest data breaches the gaming industry had ever seen. And for Sony, the nightmare was only beginning. In 2014, Sony Pictures became the target of a massive cyberattack. Employees arrived at work to find their computers locked. Instead of company files, a threatening message appeared on their screens. Hackers had stolen enormous amounts of confidential data. Private emails, executive salaries, unreleased films, contracts, internal documents, even personal employee information. The leaked emails embarrassed executives, exposed private conversations, and sparked international headlines. The attack was widely linked by U.S. authorities to North Korea after Sony prepared to release the interview. a comedy depicting a fictional assassination of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. North Korea denied responsibility. Movie theaters became nervous. Some canceled screenings. Sony briefly canceled the film's wide theatrical release before eventually distributing it through select theaters and online platforms. It wasn't just a cyber attack. It became an international political crisis involving diplomacy, free speech, and cybersecurity. For Sony, the damage went far beyond money. Its private conversations had become public. Its employees became victims, and its reputation suffered another major blow. Sony has also lost battles that reshaped technology. In the late 1970s, Sony introduced Betamax. Many experts believed it delivered better picture quality than VHS. Sony assumed superior technology would guarantee victory. It didn't. VHS manufacturers licensed their technology more widely. Movie studios embraced VHS. Rental stores filled their shelves with VHS tapes. Consumers followed. Eventually, the Betamax lost. The defeat became one of the greatest business lessons in history. The best technology doesn't always win. Sometimes, the better business strategy does. What's remarkable is that Sony survived all of it. The lawsuits, the cyber attacks, the scandals, the embarrassing leaks, the failed formats. Many companies never recover from even one crisis like these. Sony endured several. Today, the company remains one of the world's biggest entertainment and technology brands. Its cameras dominate filmmaking. Its PlayStation consoles continue to sell millions. Its image has largely recovered, but its history tells a powerful story. Innovation alone doesn't guarantee success. Trust, security, and corporate decisions can shape a company's future just as much as the products it creates. Sometimes, the greatest threat to a technology giant isn't its competitors. It's the choices it makes behind closed doors. And that is the dark history of Sony.